Hello, I'm Monica Garcia, school board member for the LAUSD, and welcome to Families Matter. Joining me today is Rowena LaGrosa, the Executive Director of the Parent Community Student Services Branch. Our goal is to provide information so families can help their children graduate and stay safe in school. Today's topic is all about LAUSD's transition to the Common Core and how this curriculum will provide our students with 21st century skills. We will be joined later by our panel to learn all about this effect and the effect it will have on our teachers, parents, and students. But first, a chance to talk about the latest regarding the LAUSD and families. Rowena, new school year, lots of folks excited?
Extremely excited. It's hard to believe the school year began about a month and a half ago, and it began just at top speed. We have schools that are now off of year-round. We opened up new schools. In the Parent Community Student Services Branch, we're developing toolkits to help our parents understand about Common Core, the technology tools. We're furthering our modules on the presentation of the master plan, helping our parents understand this new teaching and learning framework and how we're really looking at classroom instruction through a different lens. And so it's exciting, and it's an exciting time of year, particularly with the rollout of the Common Core and the technology plan.
Yes, so I love welcoming the class of 2014. We're already looking forward to graduation, and we have to start with thanking our voters again for helping us build schools. So we've built 130 new schools, and it's fabulous. And September, of course, was attendance month. So we wanted to remind all the parents that we need kids to show up every day, on time, ready to learn. And whenever there's an issue, come to the school and ask for help. Attendance is so important.
It is critical, and a few weeks back we had our Student Recovery Day. We had all district staff who work in offices assisting specific high schools, visiting homes and bringing in students who, for whatever the reason was, had not yet attended school, and we were able to recover several hundred students. What's important is that we always keep in mind our ultimate goal of helping our students be college and career ready. They need to be in school in order for us to help them get there.
That's right, that's right. So we say graduation is coming, and we know attendance is our daily challenge. And so I'm wearing my college shirt today because October is College Awareness Month, and I am so fortunate that I am a Cal Bear.
You are.
And UC Berkeley was very, very good to me. And when my family from East Los Angeles was trying to figure out where Berkeley was, it seemed far at the time. But I'm so happy to be a graduate, and I encourage every student to ask their teachers and other adults where they went to school, what was that like, and we really want our students to be energized about the possibilities.
Absolutely.
Where did you go to school?
I went to school here in the community at Cal State University Los Angeles, started my first 2 years at Cal State Long Beach, but then continued at Cal State LA. And just as you were speaking about that, it reminded me that we have many schools, elementary schools, in which every classroom has adopted a university or a college. And so the students learn about that, the university. They have visitors, professors, and students, alumni who come and visit. So it's exciting to see. It's starting that culture from the very beginning, from kindergarten on. Escalante Elementary in the South ESC is one example of such a school.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I think a lot of folks have heard about our tablet rollout. So our Common Core Technology Program, the board has authorized, I think it's 47 schools and 31,000 young people and their teachers to receive this device that we expect will help more of our kids get to the finish line.
It will indeed, and it's going to close that digital divide. It isn't about the haves and the have-nots. Every student deserves that opportunity to utilize technology to be prepared for the workforce of the future, and that's what it's about.
And you know, a lot of people ask me, is this the right thing to do? How big is LA Unified? Are we going to be able to do it? But I'm finding out many of our folks have been doing it for some time.
They have. In fact, this afternoon we're going to be speaking with one of our teachers, Noah Massey, who has utilized technology as a tool in the classroom and wouldn't know how to teach without it. So it isn't necessarily because of the rollout in particular, but he is really at the forefront, and we can learn from how he has implemented it in the classroom.
And that's the whole point. LA Unified is on the way. We'll be right back to discuss the Common Core, what they are, how they'll be implemented, and the effect on teachers, students, and parents.
Pearson materials immediately, and Pearson's made a strong commitment to alter the content depending on what the feedback is from our teachers. So this is an opportunity for our teachers to participate in actually creating the content for our students, and so that's a rare opportunity for us to have.
We're art, theater, entertainment school, so we try to work on the artistic side of things, and this device is great for it. We're in a relatively lower socioeconomic area, so for them to have these devices is just so empowering.
This is great. Like, we've not in any of my other schools, we never really had this, so it's pretty fun, and it's kind of cool carrying like this instead of a bunch of textbooks and stuff and all that. Like, you don't really have to worry about paper no more. You got notes, all this, everything just in one little device.
They say that you get a lot of stuff in the books, but really you don't get that much information you would really get in the books as like much you get like when you're researching it on iPads. So that's pretty special about it.
High School, we're having what's called our Educational Justice Week Edutainment event. So we actually have a resource fair going on. We have tours of the Wellness Center so that students can see like all the services that are provided to them. And we also came up with a policy report that takes a look at all the services and like how what students think about the Wellness Center, what they think should be included.
Today we saw a lot of booths about preventing pregnancy, STDs, and mental health care, and I think it's pretty awesome.
We're really excited as Bienvenidos to be able to provide these students with the services of healthcare, primary care, mental health, reproductive health services. We realize that if children are healthy, they're going to perform better in school, they're going to be able to succeed later in life, and so this is the foundation really of their health for the future and in their adult lives.
We recognize that students aren't going to be effective learners unless they're healthy. And that is so critical in our community, that young people have access to healthcare services that are quality, that are affordable, so that when they go into the classroom, they're ready to learn, they're ready to excel, and they're prepared for success.
Families Matter. It was great looking at kids from Esteban Torres, but joining us now to discuss the implementation of the Common Core in LAUSD are Bernadette Lucas, Director of the Common Core Technology Project, and teacher Noah Massey of the Cesar Chavez Learning Academy in San Fernando. Welcome both.
Thank you. Hi.
So what do our parents need to know about the Common Core?
Our parents need to know that the Common Core standards were designed to back map from college and career so that our students would be prepared and have the opportunity to go to college and university and be able to thrive there. They also need to know that these standards are deeper than the standards we currently have, and that things will look different in classrooms based on that.
On that note, tell us, Bernadette, what is going to look differently in the classroom when I walk in? What would I expect to see that perhaps I wouldn't have seen 2 or 3 years ago?
That's a great question. You'll see a lot of conversation and dialogue, students exchanging and collaborating around the content. That's happening in classrooms now, but the Common Core standards call for that to happen. They call for perseverance. They call for dedication and commitment to the curriculum, and we'll see things like engineering in the classroom, in elementary classrooms at that, all the way up to senior high school classrooms, where students are taking on the role of the discipline. So we'll see a lot more deep learning than we could have imagined in the past.
Mr. Massey, when we hear deep learning, what does that look like for a parent? What is that deep learning stuff?
For a parent, looking at what their kid is learning in a classroom, we're looking at, especially when we're bringing it into the Common Core, deeper looking text, more critical looking look at texts, more difficult texts. When we talk about the real world situations, we're looking at trying to solve a problem maybe that's out there that is a real world problem. we will bring in like multiple disciplines to try to solve those, where in the past, that might not have been in existence. And in my own classroom, for example, we, construct a real website rather than doing something that would be a mock-up or a PowerPoint. Because that real website is something that is a really usable skill to be used outside, as opposed to something that would be more of like what you consider a typical school project. So we're moving away from those kinds of typical school projects to more real project-based learning based on professional practices out there in the real world.
I've heard that it's about kids thinking, so not necessarily what the answer is, but really understanding how did we get to that.
Totally. In my own classroom, it is important. I am a cheerleader for my kids when they make something really great. But at the end of the day, what I'm most excited about is that 4 weeks it took to get to that final place. And all of those hurdles and frustrations and difficulties that they had to navigate. Because in the real life, you don't have that textbook that's going to say the right answer is this, that, or the other. You're going to have to navigate it. And sometimes the situation can change. And you have to be able to adjust to that to be able to get to the results that it's being asked of you. Whether it's an employer or your own kind of wanting to make something, as an artist or something in your own life.
So what I'm hearing is that the destination is just as important, or the journey is just as important as the destination. And it's those projects and the processes that they learn to get there, and the thinking and the collaboration that occurs as students are learning. And thinking deeply, thinking like a mathematician, and using the language that's necessary that a mathematician would use.
Absolutely.
How do you see the students respond to this?
It's interesting. They are sometimes they could be really thrown off. What do you mean? I don't understand. I'm used to a structure, and you're telling me you don't know the answer, teacher? And what a crazy concept to start a project where I don't know the answer either. And for them to have to, we have to figure it out together. Just today, I was playing around with an app on my iPad, a free art app called Hello Flower, which is an app for creating a three-dimensional flower. And we, they had a lot of fun doing that for 40 minutes or so. But then afterwards, I said, you got to make up an imaginary name, and then you have to go and find what would be the Latin equivalent of that imaginary name that you just made up. And then let's go take a look at scientific journals that show what a description, a scientific description of a flower would look like. Now let's together design what the assignment is going to be for all of us. Right. So how do we make our class's field guide for our imaginary flowers? You're going to tell me what the structure and how that's going to look based on this complex text that they had to discover on the web right there with their devices in front of them. And eventually we're going to bring it all together in Photoshop or something like that to create a field guide that they'll use. And this is just something that came out of a fun little free app. And that's the kind of interesting and great thing about this technology, is that you're able to throw in the Common Core elements to any of the little bits and pieces. I was talking to another teacher about a sculpture program that she's going to use in a biology class. So it's very interesting how it all kind of comes together, and if you're creative, it makes it easy to make things happen.
So we're talking about what kids are used to in the classroom, and now we're talking about not just having 2 or 3 computers in the classroom, but having one for every child. Why is that important to the Common Core?
I think it's incredibly important. Before this position, I was the principal of Melrose Math Science Technology Magnet, and we had a one-to-one program at our school. And we fought passionately for the kids to have that experience. And why it's important, the sense of ownership around the device, and them being able to have their own tool to access and to equity. That was crucial to us, and we fought for it. It is important. It opens up a world of research, creativity, collaboration, innovation that they have a right to. It's a civil right, in my opinion.
So your school, when you say one-to-one, that was 1 tablet per every student?
So we had 1 laptop per student in 3rd through 5th grade, 2 students to 1 iPad in K through 2.
And how did that, and so talk to us more about, that wasn't just in the rollout for the LAUSD Common Core, right? You adopted that
4 years
Earlier.
ago, yes. It was amazing. I have to say, though, when we were developing this plan, it took every stakeholder on our campus. Our parents were such a vital part of this process. There's no way we could have done it without them. But what happened, we saw an evolution in our culture. The way teachers taught in the classroom, the way students learned. Noah alluded to and talked about the fact that it's no longer the sage on the stage. We hear that all the time. But our students were also teachers, and our teachers became learners in a different sort of way. So when you walked in the classroom, Ms. LaGrossa asked earlier, how does the classroom look different? You had different pods of students working on projects. One pod of students could have been working on an iMovie around an ecosystem project. Another pod of students was collaboratively writing using Google Docs. So these opportunities are so important because they open up a universe for our students that allows for those creative skills to be developed, those 21st century skills.
And so for the parent that says iPad, Google Docs, I'm project-based learning, what are you talking about?
What is that?
Yeah, how do we help folks? And I remember being told that adults are digital immigrants and the kids are the digital natives, right? The world has changed.
Yes.
So how do we help older folks get used to these things that we're not familiar with?
That's a fabulous question. In the case of our school, we made sure we had parent education classes. And these weren't classes where we, decided what our parents would learn. We did a needs assessment and asked parents, what do you want to know about this? What would empower you to work with your students? So we ensured that, 4 times a month there were classes for parents, all different times of the day, night, weekends, all of that. And they were targeted, those classes were targeted to parent need and request. So, for example, we embedded the technology into our engineering program. And so our parents went to an engineering course as if they were at university. And when they got home, they had a project from the school to work on with their boys and girls. So that's how we empowered the parent. Before I knew it, our parents were teaching and leading classes. So that's one way. Another is to have our parents go. We had tours of the classes of our current parents. So they got to see what was happening in the classroom. We didn't just tour for prospective parents. We toured for our current parents so that they could see how the decisions they made manifested in the classroom with their children.
So over the years, as you were implementing the program, can you share with us what changes might you have seen in terms of either attendance, standardized test scores, the culture at the school?
So our attendance increased considerably, and just as important as our attendance increasing considerably, our students were engaged. When you look at this the school report survey, our students' engagement in the classroom increased double, triple. It was unbelievable. We also saw a dramatic increase in our API scores. Our first year implementing the technology, now I must say I had fabulous teachers. They were just unbelievable.
Tell us about that.
We went through a really rigorous selection process for them. Our teachers were leaders, just as our students were, and we valued that. I valued that as their principal. They led the charge. I was there to support and lead the school, but they led that piece. And our parents led also, and I think that's so crucial. Because of that community effort, the first year of this project, our API scores went up 124 points. It was the greatest increase in the state at that year. The following year we went up another 34 points, and the following year we went up, I think, 4 points or something like that. So there was steady, once you hit a certain place, going up, But I was proud that that growth continued over time. That's a credit to my school community.
And so tell us more about the role that the teachers played in being successful, because so many fabulous teachers in LA Unified, and they're leading on a number of fronts. But when it comes to the tablet in my classroom, that's challenging.
Yes. So one of the things, we created a culture that valued risk-taking. So as a school leader, as a principal, I had to let go a little bit. I have a type A personality, so I had to think about what my leadership role was going to look like and step back a little bit and allow for the community to take risk and sometimes fail. We use the word fail at my school. It was not a dirty word. My kids used it all the time because we knew that it wasn't about them. It's not about you. You didn't fail. The process failed. How can we make it better? And so I would say the culture around risk-taking and professional development was crucial. And professional development based on what my teachers said they needed, not what I, thought they needed, but what they said they needed and what the student data said they needed.
Wow.
I could piggyback on that and say that that's the experience I currently have at my school, and it's why we're able to turn on a dime and make these moves, and give me this allowance to experiment and try things that I don't think can happen in other places. And so I feel really fortunate, both with my principal at my current school, who's really open to all of these ideas, but also through me being an ROP and CTE teacher, credentialed for career technical education, and them allowing me to develop my own program is accredited as well to that whole organization, and just this idea of really experimenting with these tools and bringing in some of the brightest people to try to make a success of it. It's exciting. I could see it around my school with my fellow teachers too, not just my own program, but you know, on the news, Mr. Qureshi, who was you know, featured on the CBS feature a couple weeks ago. You know, he's doing amazing things with these things and his math program, and that are completely unorthodox and way out of the box, but he's having amazing success. It's really cool.
And so are the students.
Yes, absolutely. And that's really what it's about. Is, you know, when I say he's having success, what we're talking about is the students. You know, we only look good because our students look good.
That's absolutely true. That's absolutely true.
Yeah.
And so we hear young people reaching for more technology, right? We had talked about closing the digital divide, and now you're telling us when all the stakeholders get together, that creates the culture of supporting. I think that's so important to be very clear about. The whole purpose is the kids do better.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, and it's just a bit of advice for those parents out there that the kid's bringing home this new device, and you're like, what am I going to do with this? And what are they going to do? Is be open to the learning process. Let your kids show you a new app. You know, your child is going to come home sometimes with something that they don't know how to do on the iPad that they need to make happen for their class. And it's a perfect opportunity to learn that technology together. You know, the first thing to remember for all the parents, for sure, with these things is that these are designed for human beings, and we're all human beings, so we should be able to use these things. So they're not really, we're not looking at these speaking in, you know, some foreign language or something. Right. They're meant to be understood, and they could be figured out. And your student and you together could make it happen.
What a wonderful opportunity for a joint learning experience, because far so often students, our children we know, are going to be connected to this, but the parents aren't necessarily involved in that aspect of it, and now they're going to be learning together. Yes. And I think that is really what helps to enrich that bond within the family, and it's what helps to establish that homeschool connection that we know is the most significant variable in helping to ensure students will be successful.
Yeah, I think that, forgive me.
Yes. Can you tell us a little bit about the rollout of the Common Core Technology Project?
So we have 47 schools, as Ms. Garcia shared earlier, rolling out in phase 1. And so we've rolled out for about 3-4 weeks now, and various levels, elementary, middle school, and high school. And we're focused on the deployment right now as we prepare for the instructional implementation.
And so tell us a little bit about that safety concern. Yes. You know, parents might be concerned, teachers might be concerned, board members might be concerned. How do we promote safety?
I think it starts with culture to begin with. You know, when we talk about bullying on campus, we could take that model and expand it, and I do it in my classes, digital citizenship, and being that digital citizen, and what you put out there, you know, lasts and can affect you down the line. You know, just instilling in our kids, you know, what is the proper way of dealing with each other in a kind and thoughtful and caring way, and applying it to all aspects, whether it be digital or not. And I think that's really going to be the end way of doing it, because you know, our kids are smart, and they're going to find ways of playing around with these things, and ways that some adults might not find acceptable. That's going to be part of the process. But if we can instill and make those situations learning experiences to try to create better citizens out of our students, I think that's really going to be the key. And what a beautiful thing to be able to have that opportunity to open up that conversation with our students. Absolutely. So it's not something to be like, I'm afraid of the crazy things they might do with this. No, what the opportunities that this is going to give you to help mold our children into better students and citizens as we move forward.
That's wonderful. What can you tell us about your school and the tips for parents on safety?
So we have 3 prongs of safety for parents, students, and schools. One is, of course, our students' physical safety. That's number one. Then there's their online presence safety that Noah was speaking of, and then there's a device safety, which is important, but not nearly as important as the top 2. So at our school, we were very, very deliberate about parent orientations and student orientations around this. Not once a year, not twice a year. You do them regularly, and you embed them into the instructional program so that our students see the connection between their safety and their learning. And the digital citizenship piece is crucial because the fact of the matter is many of our students, especially our secondary students, have access to all kinds of technology, smartphones, computers at the home, as do elementary school students. So we're very concerned about ensuring that they have decision-making skills around technology. When the iPad is left at school and they still have access to a smartphone and a computer at home, are you making responsible, informed choices? And I know for a fact from my experience at my school site, students make incredible choices when we empower them with information.
That's correct.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
So
Yeah.
empowerment, collaboration, perseverance, preparing our students for the 21st century and making sure that they're going to be competitive in a global workforce. All of those things. It's dynamic and it's a great way to start this school year. And to have an opportunity to speak to 2 passionate educators, it is no wonder that we're going to see the great success in our students, and the outcomes are exciting, but that we know will be forthcoming. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
I want to thank you for joining us on Family Matters, and please visit our family website, families.lausd.net and parentaccess.lausd.net. Your involvement makes all the difference. See you next month, and remember, families matter.
You guys are fabulous.